Hello, this is Pam Brogdon, and this is another Brogdon YouTube on drawing conclusions and inferences. An inference is a subtle suggestion expressed without a direct statement. So they don't tell you directly, but you have to take everything that is in that statement and put it together to determine what they're trying to tell you. It's reading between the lines. There are two levels of reading. The first level is a literal level. That's when you can point directly to the text and you can get the answer. It tells you in a statement what the correct answer is. So, for example, the girl came to the party in a bright red dress. What color was the girl's dress? Well, you can go back to the statement and know that the girl's dress was red because it says so. That is a literal question. Now the next level is an inferential level, and that's you can't point to the answer in the text, but you must form your answer through clues and suggestions within the text. The author implies, and you, the reader, infer. You infer what he's telling you. You read between the lines, and you can base it on what he is telling you. But you always have to make sure that you take everything and all the facts and put them together before you make your inference. What can we infer by this passage? I hate the idea of having all those people out there watching me. I just don't like it when I'm around so many people. I wish I could just hide somewhere, whispered Violet. Well, can you infer that she was a mean girl? That she was probably somewhat inhibited? Or that she was probably shy and introverted? I think that she was shy and introverted. That's why she just wished she could be by herself. Detective shows are a lot like this reading level. You have to base what you're thinking on the facts that they give you, and based on these facts you can draw a conclusion of what's happening. Now, conclusion and inference are very much alike. You could essentially say for our purposes that they're about the same thing, but a conclusion is a decision or judgment that is inferred after you consider the facts very carefully. So you have to look at the facts before you can make a conclusion, and you don't want to jump to conclusions. Sometimes readers will jump to conclusions before they read all of the facts. Don't ever do that. Always read everything first before you make your conclusion. Let's try a few. Turner almost wished that he hadn't listened to the radio. He went to the closet and grabbed the umbrella. He would feel silly carrying it to the bus stop on such a sunny morning. Now you can conclude that he realized he had an unnatural fear of falling radio parts. I don't think so. He promised himself to do something silly this morning. It said nothing about that. He had heard a weather forecast that predicted rain. Well, he talked about the radio, and he grabbed his umbrella. So you can conclude that he heard a weather forecast that predicted rain. Larry, as your boss, I must say it's been very interesting working with you, Ms. Valdez said. However, it seems that our company's needs and your performance style are not well matched. Therefore, it makes me very sad to have to ask you to resign your position effective today. Now, what can we infer that she was telling Larry? That she would feel really bad if he decided to quit? Or that he was being fired? He was getting a raise? Or she enjoyed having him in the office? Now, from what you read, what can you infer? That he was being fired, wasn't he? She wanted him to resign effective today. No, honey, I don't want you to spend a lot of money on my birthday present. Just having you for a husband is the only gift I need. In fact, I'll just drive my old rusty bucket of bolts down to the mall and buy myself a little present. And if the poor old car doesn't break down, I'll be back soon. What can we conclude? That the message is that she doesn't want a gift? Buy me a new car? Or the mall is fun? I'll carry a bucket for you. I think she wants a new car, so B would be the answer. Bill and Jessica were almost done taking turns choosing the players for their teams. It was Jessica's turn to choose, and only Kurt was left. Jessica said, "Kurt, we can infer that Kurt was not a very good player. Jessica was pleased to have Kurt on her team. Kurt was the best player on either team, and Jessica was inconsiderate of Kurt's feelings." Well, we can infer that Kurt was not a very good player because he was the last one chosen and he was the only one left. So there was nothing in this passage that said anything about her being glad he was on his team or inconsiderate or anything like that. So he just wasn't a very good player. Now, let's read a little bit longer paragraph. The curious thing is that there is still a genre of intellectuals, serious writers even, who talk about New York's cab drivers and dirt, the foul air, the overcrowding, the noise, the rudeness, and all the rest of it, and say that, in spite of all that, it adds up to magic. They really still use the words like magic and tell how stimulating it all is. The magic and the similar words that crop up in this connection are really unconscious translations of the word status. There is a lot of magic in New York as long as you're riding high and can drink 2 scotches on the rocks before dinner and look out at the city lights while your blood rises up into your nice 1930s Manhattan Tower brain like charged water bubbles. Now, in describing the city, the author implies that living in New York is enchanting, the urban life affects people's health, or New York can be a most unpleasant place. Well, the author believes that New York can be an unpleasant place because he mentions dirt, foul air, and other unpleasant aspects of the city. So he thinks New York can be a most unpleasant place, which the following is a conclusion drawn by the author. He thinks you must be born in New York to appreciate the magic. He believes people with status enjoy New York more than others, or the city's magic is more apparent when he is above street level. Well, the last 2 lines of the passage indicate that the author thinks people with status in New York's magic because they do not deal with the city's unpleasantness. So let's look at another one. One night I had to take a page from the Bible for 3 minutes, then report everything I could remember. Now, Jehoshaphat had riches and honor in abundance, and that's all I could remember, Ma, I said. And after seeing my mother's disappointed face once again, something inside of me began to die. I hated the test, the raised hopes and failed expectations. Before going to bed that night, I looked in the mirror above the bathroom sink, and when I saw only my face staring back, and that it would always be in this ordinary face, I began to cry. Such a sad, ugly girl. I made high-pitched noises like a crazed animal, trying to scratch out the face in the mirror. And then I saw what seemed to be the prodigy side of me, because I had never seen that face before. I looked at my reflection, blinking so I could see more clearly. The girl staring back at me was angry and powerful. This girl and I were the same. I had new thoughts, willful thoughts, or rather thoughts filled with lots of wants. I won't let her change me, I promised myself. I won't be what I'm not. Now, can we infer that the girl knows that her mother accepts her the way she is? I don't think so. She said disappointed. She promises herself that she will make every effort to please her mother. or she enjoys memorizing passages from the Bible, or that she changes from feeling sad to feeling powerful, or that she decides to be true to herself. Well, at first, when she doesn't meet her mother's expectations, the girl feels sad and defeated. Excuse me. But as she looks in the mirror, her sadness explodes into rage. Looking at her own reflection, she sees an angry, powerful girl. As she senses a newfound strong will, the girl decides that she won't permit her mother to rule over her actions or to change her. She decides to be true to herself. James Springer and his identical twin James Lewis were separated at birth. They were raised in different homes. Excuse me. They did not meet again until they were 39. When they met, they found out the following. Springer's first wife was named Linda, and his second wife Betty. Lewis has also had a wife named Betty and one named Linda. Each had a son named James Allen. Each had owned a dog named Toy. Their favorite subject in high school had been math. They had both studied law enforcement after high school. They had the same hobbies and the same favorite vacation place. They even liked the same brand of cookies. Now, from this article, we can conclude that A and B are the twins you're reading about. All twins are like dogs, and they're more likely to get divorced than other people. That's just about these twins. But they don't apply to all twins. C is incorrect because there's nothing in the paragraph that suggests there are more male twins than female. So it has to be identical twins have a lot in common. From this passage, we can conclude that even though these men were raised differently, they like many of the same things. Twins usually name their children after themselves. James Springer and James Lewis like each other, all of the above. Well, choices B, C, and D are incorrect because there's nothing in the article to back up that they name their children after themselves or that they like each other. So those can't be it. So it has to be that even though they were raised differently, they like many of the same things. And I think it tells us that in the passage. From the article, you can conclude that male twins are good at math. James Springer and James Lewis look alike. Twins always like the same foods, or all of the above. Well, choices A, C, and D are incorrect because although they are true statements about these twins, you cannot conclude these things are true about all twins. So, when you're making conclusions, you have to base it on facts. And from the facts, then you conclude what the author is saying. I hope this has helped you when you're to make clearer inferences and conclusions, and to base them on facts. But you must read between the lines when you're making inferences, and conclusions are based on facts.